Hello and welcome. We are going to proceed from where we left during the last video. So in the last video, we made an introduction to the quadratic formula. We learned how to derive the quadratic formula, and I remember we looked at only one example of how to apply the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. So in this video, I want us to look at more examples so that we can understand in a better way. So we have one example here that I want us to work on. Okay, so we have x squared plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. So the question is, use the quadratic formula to get the values that of x that satisfy that equation. So I know you can use other methods, but I want us to specifically use the quadratic formula for this case. So as we said during the last video, and by the way, I'm going to leave a link to that video in the description box, so that if you never happened to watch that video, that introduction video to quadratic formula, you can get to follow that link and it will direct you to that video. So we said that the quadratic formula is x is equal to negative b plus or minus the root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay, and we said a is the coefficient of x squared, okay, b is the coefficient of x, and c is that constant there. Okay, so for this case, let's identify a. Okay, a, as we said, is the coefficient of x squared. For this case, it is 1. What about b, the coefficient of x? It is also 1. What about c, the coefficient of, or rather this constant? It is negative 6. Okay, so let's apply, or rather let's input these values or substitute these values to our formula here. So it's going to be x is equal to negative b, so that is negative 1, plus or minus the root of b squared, so b is 1, so 1 squared is 1, minus, then as I told you, it's good to put a small bracket here so that you don't get confused on the way, because you can end up messing up the signs and that will give you the wrong answer. So put a small bracket there so that you don't mess up. Okay, so we have 4 times a is 1, times c, so c is negative 6. Okay, then all these divided by 2a, a is 1, so we are dividing it by 2. Okay, so now let's first work out whatever is inside this bracket. It's 4 times 1, that's 4, then 4 times negative 6. 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. So inside the bracket, we have negative 24. Okay, then we have 1 minus 24. 1 minus 24. That is the same thing as 1 plus 24. Okay, that is 25. So in fact, let me write it down here so that we don't get confused. Okay, the root of, rather, let me write a smaller one. So 1, negative 1 plus or minus. So we have said that this one is the root of 25, all that. Okay, after we have simplified it, it's going to be 25. Okay, and then divided by 2. Okay, so now let's get the square root of 25. The square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus. So instead of having the root of 25, we're going to have 5. And then all these divided by 2. So what do we have here? We have x is equal to either negative 1 plus 5 over 2, or x is equal to negative 1 minus 5 over 2. So we said it could be either positive or negative 5. So for one case, we take it to be positive 5 and the other one negative 5. Okay, so this is going to be negative 1 plus 5. Negative 1 plus 5 is negative 4. Okay, and then divided by 2. Okay, sorry, not negative 4, sorry, I'm sorry for that. It's 4. Negative 1 plus 5 is 4. So it's 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So that is one value of x. What about this other one? Negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. Divided by 2 is negative 3. So the other value of x is negative 3. So we have found out both values of x. So let's quickly look at one other example so that we can understand this in a better way. Okay. Sorry. So let's say we have 2x squared plus x plus 6 is equal to 0. In fact, I think you can first of all pause the video and try to work it out by yourself. I believe by now you have a glimpse, or you have understood to some extent the quadratic formula. So try to work this out by yourself, and then afterwards you can confirm whether what you did is actually the correct thing. So quickly, we need to identify A, B, and C. For this case, A is 2, B is 1, and C is 6. So back to a quadratic formula. It is x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Okay? So let's substitute these values to our formula. So we have x is equal to negative b is negative 1 plus or minus the root of b squared. B is 1, so it's 1 minus bracket 4 times a is 1, sorry, a is 2, and c is, okay, let's do one thing. Let's make this negative 6. Okay, I will tell you why I've done this. Okay, let's make this negative 6. This is because when we work it that way, we are going to get a complex number, and I know you may not be familiar with complex numbers. That will take us to a whole new thing, a whole different thing, that is complex numbers. But I will make a video, okay, about complex numbers, what complex numbers are, and how we can solve such a quadratic equation that was forming here using the knowledge of complex numbers. But for this case, let's make it negative 6 so that we can apply the knowledge of that we have just learned. Okay, so I'm sorry for that. So C for this case is going to be negative 6. Okay, so this is going to be 4 times 2 times C, which is now negative 6. Okay, that way, and then all these divided by 2a, and a is 4. Okay, so let's work out what is inside this bracket. So it's 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, 8 times negative 6. Okay, so 8 times negative 6 is negative 48. Okay, then we have 1 minus negative 48. So minus and minus, that's a plus. So it's 1 plus 48. So that's going to be 49. So we are talking of x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root the square root of 49, and then all this divided by 4. Okay, so x is going to be -1 plus or minus, so the square root of 49 is plus or minus 7. Okay, then divided by 4, not 2, divided by 4. So x could be -1 plus 7 divided by 8, or still x could be -1 minus 7, okay, divided by this is supposed to be 4, not 8. This should be 4, okay, not 8, divided by 4. Then -1 minus 7 also divided by 4. So let's start with this one. So it's -1 plus 7, so that's plus 6. So x could be 6 out of 4, which can further be simplified to become 3 out of 2. So that is one value of x. So let's look at this other one. It's -1 minus 7, that's -8, and then divided by 4, which is -2. So the other value of x is -2. Okay, I believe by those examples we have understood how to apply the knowledge of the quadratic formula. Okay, so let's leave it at that. If you have any questions or comments, be free to drop them on the comment section. So if you find this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and also turning on the notification bell so that whenever I upload a video like this, you'll be the first one to be notified. Okay, so let's meet in the next video.